Imagine losing everything you've worked for in just one night. Your home, your dreams, your dignity. That's what happened to Betty, a 59-year-old cook who thought she had hit rock bottom when a devastating storm destroyed her little house. But she never imagined that her millionaire boss was secretly watching her story unfold. And what he did next left the entire neighborhood in tears. Betty, a 59-year-old grandmother who's been cooking her heart out at the prestigious Palm Beach Manor for over 2 decades, with her silver hair always neatly tied back and wearing the same faded apron she's had since her first day, Betty takes pride in every meal she prepares for the wealthy residents. "I may not have much," Betty's voice trembles, "but cooking isn't just my job. It's my legacy. My mama taught me these recipes, and I was saving every penny to open my own little diner someday." Tonight's forecast warns of the worst storm to hit Rio de Janeiro in 30 years. But Betty has no idea that by morning, everything she's worked for will be washed away. And her mysterious boss, Mr. Thompson, has been keeping a secret that's about to change her life forever. If I had known what was coming that night. Betty hurries home after her late shift, clutching her precious recipe notebook close to her chest. The bus is packed with people seeking shelter from the growing storm. Through the foggy windows, she can barely make out the humble hillside neighborhood she's called home for the past 30 years. "The weatherman said it would be bad," elderly passenger whispers, "but I've never seen the river rise this high." As Betty steps off the bus, her worn shoes splash in the already ankle-deep water. The steep street leading to her small house has become a rushing stream. Her chest tightens as she notices something unusual. Several of her neighbors are frantically loading their cars. "Betty! Betty!" Mrs. Santos, her elderly neighbor, calls out. "The civil defense was here. They're saying we need to evacuate immediately." But Betty's life savings are in that house, her mother's recipes, the vintage cooking equipment she's collected over decades, everything she needs for her dream diner. Just 5 minutes, Betty thinks. I just need 5 minutes to save what matters most. Thunder crashes violently. The water is rising faster now. As Betty struggles up the hill, she sees something that makes her blood run cold. Chunks of earth breaking away from the saturated hillside. Early morning light filters through the kitchen windows. Betty stands at her usual station in Palm Beach Manor's kitchen, her silver hair still damp from the rain, her normally pristine uniform wrinkled and bearing water stains. The familiar warmth of the ovens can't stop her hands from trembling as she tries to crack eggs for the morning's breakfast service. "Betty, your hands," Martha whispers, catching a dropped eggshell. "Maybe you should take the day off." But Betty straightens her shoulders, just like her mama taught her. "Can't afford to, dear. Not anymore." Her voice catches as she remembers the sight of her little house, now nothing but a muddy ruin on the hillside. The kitchen staff exchange worried glances. They've never seen Betty like this. She's always been their rock, their source of strength and warm smiles. Now, dark circles ring her eyes, and her usual graceful movements are mechanical, distant. "At least let me make you some coffee." Martha touches her arm gently. "You look like you haven't slept." Betty doesn't tell them about the bus station bench where she spent the night, clutching her mother's crucifix. Doesn't mention how she walked 2 hours in the rain to make it to work on time. 20 years of perfect attendance isn't something you break, even when you've lost everything. The morning light catches the crystal chandeliers above, casting warm patterns across the kitchen. Betty watches them dance across her workspace, remembering how she used to dream of opening her own little diner. All those careful savings, every extra shift, every penny put aside, now just soggy paper in a ruined lockbox. The recipes. Her voice breaks. My mama's recipes. They're all gone. Martha starts to respond but freezes as a familiar figure appears in the kitchen doorway. Mr. Thompson stands there in his impeccable suit, his expression unreadable as he watches Betty try to compose herself. "Betty?" His deep voice carries across the kitchen. "A moment in my office, please." The kitchen falls silent. In 20 years, Betty has never been called to the owner's office. She straightens her dampened uniform as best she can, painfully aware of her disheveled appearance in this palace of perfection. "Sir, she begins. "Now, please." His tone is gentle but firm. As Betty follows him toward the grand staircase, she doesn't notice the subtle nod he gives to his assistant or the quick phone call being made from a corner of the kitchen. She's too focused on maintaining her dignity even as her world has washed away. What she doesn't know is that Mr. Thompson has already been awake for hours, making calls that will change her life forever. Betty stands in the doorway, her heart pounding against her ribs. The elegant office, with its mahogany panels and crystal chandeliers, has always been off limits to the kitchen staff. The marble floors reflect golden morning light, making her worn work shoes look even more out of place. "Please, sit down, Betty." Mr. Thompson's voice is unexpectedly gentle. She perches uncertainly on the edge of a leather chair worth more than her monthly salary, trying not to leave watermarks from her damp uniform. The usual distance between owner and employee feels like an ocean. "Martha told me about your house." He pauses. "She said you lost everything in the storm." Betty's throat tightens. "Sir, I promise it won't affect my work. Her voice wavers. "I just need a few days to figure things out." Mr. Thompson rises from behind his desk, his familiar commanding presence softened by something she's never seen before. Understanding. He walks to the window, gazing out over his manicured gardens where the morning sun gilds every leaf. "You know, Betty," his voice grows distant. "Not many people know this, but I lost everything once too, back in '82. He turns, and for the first time in 20 years, Betty sees vulnerability in his eyes. Walking to a hidden wall safe, he removes an old leather album, its edges worn smooth by time. Most people see this office, this manor. He gestures around. They see success, wealth. What they don't see is where it all started. He opens the album, and Betty's eyes widen. There, in a faded photograph, stands a much younger Mr. Thompson, in a cook's uniform. "That's me, age 24. His finger traces the image. Working 16-hour days in a hotel kitchen in Chicago. Dreams of my own restaurant someday. He smiles softly. "Sound familiar?" Betty's hands tremble as she looks at the photo. The young man's determined expression, the proud set of his shoulders in the simple uniform. It's like looking in a mirror across time. "Then the fire took everything." His voice grows quiet. "The restaurant, my savings, my recipes, all gone in one night. But someone saw something in me, Betty. Someone gave me a chance when I needed it most." He walks back to his desk, picking up his phone. His eyes hold a look that makes Betty's heart skip. The same look her mama used to get before announcing something big. "James?" He speaks into the phone. "It's time. Bring everything up." Betty watches, puzzled, as Mr. Thompson's expression shifts from reminiscence to purpose. What she doesn't know is that this call will set in motion events that will transform her life in ways she never imagined. "Yes, bring them in, please." Mr. Thompson speaks into the phone. "All of them." Betty watches in bewilderment as his assistant enters carrying a stack of leather portfolios. Mr. Thompson spreads them across his desk, revealing property listings, business permits, and restaurant floor plans. "For the past 6 months." He straightens his tie. "I've been looking to open a new restaurant in Palm Beach. Something authentic. Something with heart." Betty's hands tremble as she recognizes some of her own recipes in the mix, dishes that guests had raved about at special events. "But what I've been missing," he smiles warmly, "is someone who understands that great cooking isn't just about fancy ingredients. It's about love, tradition, and..." He pauses. "Family recipes." Tears well up in Betty's eyes as she thinks of her mother's destroyed recipe book. "Sir, I don't understand." Her voice barely a whisper. Mr. Thompson walks to a large covered easel in the corner of his office. His hand rests on the cloth covering it. Betty, before I show you what's under here, I need to ask you something very important. His voice grows serious. What he's about to propose will not only change Betty's life, but challenge everything she thought possible for a simple cook like herself. A beautiful watercolor illustration shows a warm, inviting restaurant with large windows overlooking the beach. Above the entrance, elegant lettering spells out Betty's Home Kitchen in a font that somehow captures both sophistication and homey comfort. The building's design incorporates all the elements she'd always dreamed of: the open kitchen, the cozy dining areas, even the herb garden she'd mentioned once in passing. "I don't just want to give you a job, Betty." Mr. Thompson's voice fills with purpose, his eyes fixed on her reaction. "I want to make you my business partner." Betty's knees weaken, and she grabs the edge of his desk for support. Her eyes drink in every detail of the rendering: the warm lighting, the intimate seating arrangements, the spacious kitchen that would be her domain. "This spot," he points to a location on the plan spread across his desk, "is where you'll recreate your mother's recipes." His finger traces the open kitchen design. "And this," he reaches for a leather-bound book embossed with gold lettering, "is something special I had made." With trembling hands, Betty opens the book. Her eyes fill with tears as she sees page after page of her recipes, professionally transcribed and beautifully illustrated. All the dishes she'd created over the years at Palm Beach Manor: her mother's seafood stew, her special occasion breads, her holiday roasts, preserved and documented with loving care. "We've been collecting them," Mr. Thompson explains softly. "Every special dish, every unique creation. Claire has been writing them down, documenting your techniques, your special touches." Betty's fingers trace the familiar ingredients lists, her mother's combinations that she'd kept alive all these years. But reality crashes back as she remembers her current situation. "But sir," her voice shakes with emotion, I don't have anything to contribute. The storm took everything I had." Mr. Thompson's eyes twinkle with a knowing look as he reaches for another folder on his desk, this one bound in rich brown leather with gold corners. "Actually, Betty," he says, his fingers resting on the clasp, "there's something else you need to see." The late afternoon sun catches the gold embossing on the folder as he begins to open it, and Betty holds her breath, unprepared for what comes next. "These," he says, beginning to lay out card after card across his polished desk, "are just a fraction of what your cooking has meant to people." Betty leans forward, her eyes widening as she recognizes the Palm Beach Manor comment cards, hundreds of them, spanning 2 decades. Her trembling fingers reach out to touch one from 2004. "Betty's cornbread reminded me of my grandmother's. I cried." Another from 2012. "We came back just for the seafood stew." 2018. "Please tell Betty her holiday roast made our daughter's wedding perfect." "Your food has been the heart of Palm Beach Manor." Mr. Thompson smiles warmly, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "These guests aren't just customers, Betty. They're your future investors." Betty's hand flies to her mother's silver crucifix as she sees Mrs. Vandworth's elegant handwriting praising her coconut cake, Mr. Henderson's note about her being a local treasure. Names she'd known for years, faces who'd always stopped by her kitchen to thank her personally. "Mrs. Vandworth has already pledged to match my investment," he continues, pulling out a letter with a distinctive monogrammed letterhead. "And the Henderson family wants exclusive catering rights for their events. They're willing to pay a premium to ensure they have first access to your cooking." The afternoon sun catches on his watch as he reaches for one final document, bound in blue leather. Betty's heart nearly stops as she recognizes the address at the top. "This morning," his voice softens with genuine warmth, "I purchased that little corner property you always admired on Ocean Drive." He pauses, watching her reaction. "The one with the lighthouse view you said reminded you of your mother's hometown in Maine." Betty sinks into the leather chair, her legs no longer able to support her. The room seems to spin slightly as 20 years of memories, hundreds of meals, thousands of smiles, all come together in this moment. "But," Mr. Thompson's expression grows serious as he straightens his burgundy tie, "there's one condition to all of this. He walks around his desk to stand closer to Betty. And it's non-negotiable. The seabirds calling outside the window fall silent. The gentle hum of the air conditioning seems to fade away, and Betty holds her breath, waiting to hear what this man, who has just offered her everything she's ever dreamed of, could possibly want in return. The condition is... He smiles warmly, his eyes crinkling at the corners. You have to teach my granddaughter everything you know about cooking. She wants to be a chef, just like her grandfather once dreamed of being. Tears stream freely down Betty's face as the full circle of life becomes clear. Mr. Thompson wasn't just investing in a restaurant. He was preserving a legacy of love through cooking, connecting 3 generations through the art of food. 6 months later, Betty's home kitchen stands proudly on Ocean Drive, its windows gleaming in the morning sun. The brass fixtures catch the light, and the herb garden sways gently in the ocean breeze. Inside, Betty moves confidently through her state-of-the-art kitchen, her silver hair now worn proudly under a crisp white chef's hat. Her new uniform, embroidered with the restaurant's logo, feels like a second skin. At a special corner table flooded with natural light, Mr. Thompson's teenage granddaughter Sarah carefully follows Betty's instructions, her blonde hair neatly tucked under her apprentice cap. Her hands work the pie dough with growing confidence, trying to replicate the perfect flakiness that made Betty's pies famous at Palm Beach Manor. Remember, honey, Betty guides Sarah's hands with gentle authority. Just like your grandfather always says, the secret ingredient is love. Feel the dough, don't just work it. The restaurant walls tell their story through carefully framed photographs. A faded picture of Betty's mother in her modest Maine kitchen, a young Mr. Thompson in his cooking whites from 1982, newspaper clippings of Palm Beach Manor's special events, and in the center, the framed article about their unique partnership titled, "From Storm to Success, A Story of Second Chances." Sarah looks up from her work, flour dusting her cheeks, her green eyes bright with admiration. "You know what my grandfather told me?" she says, carefully crimping the pie's edge, just as Betty taught her. "He said sometimes angels come disguised as cooks." Betty smiles, reaching out to touch her mother's old silver crucifix, now hanging in a place of honor near the kitchen entrance. The morning light catches it just so, making it shimmer like a beacon of hope. She'd lost everything in that storm, but gained something she never expected. A chance to pass on her legacy to the next generation, ensuring that the love and tradition behind her mother's recipes would live on through Sarah's young hands. Through the kitchen windows, she can see the lighthouse in the distance, standing tall against the morning sky, a reminder that even in life's darkest storms, light and hope will always find a way to guide us home. Life can change in an instant, my dear friends. Sometimes we lose everything only to gain something even more precious, a chance to make our dreams come true and touch other lives in ways we never imagined. Betty's story reminds us that angels can appear in our darkest moments, sometimes wearing a business suit instead of wings. I'd love to hear from you, my wonderful viewers. Have you ever experienced a moment of kindness that changed your life forever? Or perhaps you've been someone's guardian angel without even realizing it. Share your beautiful stories in the comments below. I read every single one of them, and your words touch my heart deeply. And I'm always curious, where are you watching from today? Whether it's a cozy apartment in New York, a farmhouse in Texas, or anywhere else in our beautiful world, let me know in the comments. It warms my heart to know that these stories of hope reach so many special places. If you believe in the power of second chances and unexpected blessings, please give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. You won't want to miss next week's incredible story. Coming next week, a simple woman asks for food and is humiliated until her billionaire husband steps in. It's another touching story that proves how a single act of kindness can echo through the years in the most extraordinary ways. Until then, my dear friends, remember, sometimes the biggest blessings come disguised as our greatest challenges. God bless you all, and I'll see you next week.